Welcome to another episode of BetaTalk. I'd like to thank my season sponsors, who are Ultimate Renewables Supplies. Check them out on their website, see what they do in the wonderful world of heat pumps. Today, I've got Barry back with us, Barry Sharp from Renewable Heat, up in that lovely part of the world called Scotland. And also from Scotland is Iain, who's from Edinburgh Heating. And we're going to sort of kind of continue a little theme around mentorship and training, and then basically, obviously, talk about what's happening currently in the industry. So, Barry, just to sort of tell us how you know Iain, and then we'll obviously chat to Iain, and he'll tell us how what he's doing.
So Ian's actually Alex Butcher for Warner's neighbour. So Alex introduced us as Ian was looking to start doing heat pumps. So Ian actually tried to pass me a job, and I kind of said, "Well, no, we'll pass a job to me, but we'll do it together. You can come and give me a hand with it, and that way you can get a wee introduction to what heat pumps are all about, and I'll show you the whole process while you're doing it." And that's a good topic because I think businesses like Ian, because Ian, how many staff is just 2 years, isn't it?
Just two just now, yeah.
Yeah, so these are going to be the gatekeepers to mass deployment because that's most of the businesses that do heating in the UK. It's micro businesses. And these guys have got lots of barriers to get over. So I thought it would be good to talk to Ian about what his barriers are in this heat pump journey. What's stopping him doing it? Why is he not doing it? Because if we can get these guys to talk to their customers, that's going to talk people into doing heat pumps. The more people like Ian that fit heat pumps, more heat pumps we're all going to fit. Because the problem is with this micro business is it's easier to fit a gas boiler than it is to go through the hassle. So they're always that barrier of mass deployment is going to be the micro businesses that have got too many of those hurdles to get over. So maybe Ian can have a chat about some of these hurdles he's had.
Fantastic. You lived next to Alex Butcher from Walmart, because that means you can sort of just wander around his house whenever you want, have a look at the system, tweak it if you want, and learn more about it. But yeah, so you've been in obviously the game a while as a sort of a boiler installation heating engineer, and
Yeah.
you're looking at transitioning, and obviously Barry and I have been talking about this whole thing of mentorship because it's. Have you done any of the courses?
Oh yeah. I've done the Heat Geeks and I've done Kimbo's course a couple of times way back when he was actually talking about hot water priority, long before it was moving towards heat pumps. It was hot water priority, low temperature systems, weather compensation. And
Are
so
you applying that
that was,
knowledge to gas now?
yeah, yeah, and have been for a long time. And so the transition to heat pumps is relatively straightforward, but there's this confidence jump. It's a big barrier, as far as I'm concerned, into getting qualified, having the confidence to sign off on the MCS side of things, compared to just reverting to a low temperature gas system.
I know you're coming from me because when we worked together, I got a snapshot of how it used to be because I'm now a bigger size. I've got more bodies running about, but when you get a micro business, you've got to think about bookkeeping and fault finding and errors and things going wrong, and they all just land on your plate. So
Yep.
to finding that headspace and that room to even start that journey for MCS.
Good on
It,
you, but
it,
good on you, Ian, by the way, for doing weather comped systems. So that's a big thing I sort of push and promote. And there's been a bit of an announcement from the government this week about that they're looking at sort of the way thermostats and things are happening and how things are getting controlled. I mean, the largest installation companies in this country are just putting them in with on-off control, fixed flow temperatures. Fixed flow temperature is usually too high. It means the system will corrode more. More sales for the inhibitor companies and the magnetic filter companies. Let's just do the thing right. Let's do. So anyone listening who's from the Edinburgh region, and you want a boiler, here's the person that's putting them in properly. Because the other advantage is people get used to living with a weather comp system, which is how we live with heat pump systems, or so they should. I mean, some do, some unfortunately get put in that haven't had that weather comp turned on. But so have you gone on any of the heat pump courses like the LCL Awards one or the BPEC? Have you done them yet?
that's imminent.
Right.
So signed up, ready to go. But no, so we're essentially working with Barry, as a subcontractor is his job. So we're getting our experience working with them, but no, as yet not qualified to fit them.
No, but
I think
fantastic,
I
fantastic.
think that's a way. I think that's the way to do it sometimes as well. Going into that course blind, you might not pick as much if you've seen a couple of heat pumps and you start to understand the components and what's going on. Then do the course. You'll get more from the course.
You could do, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you'll get frustrated, which I know that's happened because you've got people going on the course who've done something like that. You know, they've got,
Mm-hmm.
been, they've done something what you're doing, and they go on the course and they realise the trainer's never been around a heat pump in their lives, and isn't actually sort of getting across information in the way that you'd probably want it to be put across because you've done some hands-on work around this technology.
Yeah, I struggle sometimes with what's been delivered on the training courses, and it's not just heat pump courses because I've not been on any heat pump courses, but I find that in the trade over the years, some of the courses that being delivered leave an awful lot to be desired.
Yeah, you got the
Well,
gas, obviously every 5 years you do, haven't you? And you got the water
Yep.
regs, you got the G3 regs. All big money earners for. Well, I get too harsh, don't I? BPEC's a charity. BPEC is a charity, so they're a non-for-profit. I think LCL Awards are a profit, but hopefully they'll all try and do things better, and they're all listening. Well, I know BPEC listens really a lot to this podcast because I got invited down to a meeting with their CEO in London. Really, really nice person and understands the challenge. What sort of things did you learn from Barry? What was the value from sort of going out on a job with him, do you think?
Do you know the actual knowledge of installing a system at the end of the day, it's just a heat only boiler but sitting outside. It's a hot water cylinder, it's a bunch of radiators. I've done the courses, Kimbo's courses, so you could do the long calculations to work out exactly the sizing. With Barry, you can stress too much that it has to be worked out like the heat gates to within an inch of its life. And for the most part, if you go back to your sort of engineering decisions, you go, well, that'll be 28 mil, that'll be more than enough to get you to there, and 22 mil is more than enough to get you to there. You sometimes you think you could stress too much that and overcalculate it, and sometimes you could save a few quid by working it out, and sometimes it'd be the difference between a 15 mil pipe or a 22 mil pipe, and you save a couple of quid by going 15 mil. But for the most part, sometimes you can do the bigger calculations, your index circuit, and you're pretty much there.
So you're quite hot on the design, and like I say, you went on a couple of Kimbo's courses, you've done the Heat Geek, so you kind of get the math side of it. I mean, were you part of the commissioning process? Did he help you commission it, Barry, and see that side of
yeah, he
things?
was over my shoulder. Yeah, I let him do it and just shouted at him.
Mm.
But again, unless you walk through that stuff, I think there's too many wee bits to learn.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it was is it Nebe?
Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody actually knows.
But the wiring, I mean, okay, in the book it is step by step and it shows you what to plug into where, but you opening up that wiring center for the first time, that's intimidating.
Yeah, the wiring center can do everything. That's the thing with the nib is that it can do everything. So they've got every functionality in it. But even going through a manual, there could be 10 different sensors you could put in. You might not need them all. There is a bit. Is that kind of thing that needs to be simplified for them?
It's a bit like the valence system. There's so much that those wiring centers can do that you'd never do them all, but it's all there. I guess it's just cheaper to have one unit that's capable of doing everything. But yeah, the first time you see it, it is a bit overwhelming.
I want to pick up on something you said there, Ian. I think that's really. I've never thought of it like that, and it just makes so much sense now. It's like a heat only boiler outside. And for my listeners who don't know what a heat only boiler is, most of you will probably be familiar with the term combination boilers. You're all familiar with the term condensing. I mean, they're all condensing boilers now, but you've got combination boiler does the combination of your space heating and hot water. But then we've got system boilers and we've got heat only boilers. Well, system boilers, heat only can be a system or a non-system, and you put your own stuff on it, on the system, pumps and all this sort of thing. But yeah, it's basically a boiler with a cylinder, which is kind of what the heat pump system is. I've never really, it makes so much sense, isn't it? It's like a heat.
Just move that box outside.
Yeah, you're just moving outside, which is like what we discussed, Barry, last time, which is where a lot of the expense comes from, because we're moving a heating system outside. It's not in your kitchen anymore, wherever. Moving it outside, because I still get people contacting me. Why is it costing so much? Why are
Everything
plumbers
involved in it.
charging? Why are
Ian,
plumbers charging too much?
the one that Ian done with me, it was just a complete rip out. Everything moving different locations. It's the first one I've done in a tenement flat as well that got through, which was a surprise.
Mm.
So it looks like the councils are starting to soften up a bit. For years and years, you couldn't get planning anywhere for a heat pump, and then we got permitted development rights, and then they're starting to soften up a bit. I think that's what it feels like.
We had an announcement this week, didn't we, about permitted development and planning? They're going
Yeah,
to.
England, not Scotland.
Oh, of course, yeah.
always doing stuff different.
I forgot you're a devolved country, aren't you?
Yeah, the heat's devolved.
If I had my way, I'd build that wall higher.
Yeah, so we've got the house we done.
I wouldn't for any listeners. I love the Scottish.
The house we done was a tenement flat. It's 4 floor high and probably a block of about a quarter mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the first one on this street.
And interestingly, the council nodded it through. The planning department nodded it through. There was no consultation with the neighbours, because the neighbour approached us and says, "Oh, is that going to be noisy?" So they had no idea, which I was surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised it went through.
You live next door to it, Ian. Is it noisy then, with my listeners?
No. I've actually never heard Alex's heat pump running.
And did that surprise you, sort of being a bit new to the sort of technology?
No, I'd been through at the Valen Training Centre and heard their unit running indoors.
Yeah.
And that's the one that they stripped down and rebuild. And pretty much silent. You could hear it running, but there was blokes just having a conversation next to it and you couldn't hear it.
Remember what they used to be like, Nathan? They used to be like articulated lorries parked outside, churning away, and then when they did a defrost, it's the gas used to change. It used to be really bad.
It's an interesting point, because a lot of people, that I think a friend of mine, Sam Duke, actually put this on. Sam Duke's from a company called Adia, who does some very, very interesting stuff, and they'll be on the show soon. But he mentioned, why is there noise? Why do you have to have these regulations around noise for heat pumps and not for boilers? Well, there is actually stuff for boilers, but because this technology has been around us a long, long time. There's millions of fan coils out there, bolted to walls and up on roofs already. And trust me, back in the day, they were noisy. Yeah. They've got better over time, but they were noisy. There's still some noisy ones out there. So I suppose as we sort of they were looking to transition to this technology into domestic, that's kind of where we make sure we have sort of noise assessment. I understand that. Why wouldn't you? My dad had the neighbour installed one next to my dad, and that was really, really noisy. It kept my dad awake. My dad sleeps with his window open, and it kept mum and dad awake at night. It was really noisy. I mean, it hadn't got put in properly. I didn't live anywhere near at the time, so I couldn't sort of help out. And the people moved out, and they actually replaced it with an old boiler again. But there you go. So yeah, there is I understand why people have a concern about noise, but unfortunately, the media love to amplify that, don't they? As a bit of a
saying that, because we fitted this one at Arthur's Seat, which is a big mound in the middle of Edinburgh. I'm doing one other side at Duddingston, and they've asked for an NR25 report on it. So it's a noise report. A noise report, because you do different frequencies at different. It's quite complex. So you have to really squeeze the manufacturer for it. But it's the first time I've been asked that in about 10 years. But this is going to sit on the front of the house in a conservation area, because it's the only place it can go. And it's the second one in the block, so I think they're starting to stack up a bit.
And are you doing that assessment, or someone's coming out?
Well, you can get the data from the manufacturers. I'm just not a time to go and try and pull it out, because it's not in any of the literature. You have to go and ask them for it.
What's next?
To get them all the time.
What's next on your journey then, Ian? Are you going to go on any more jobs with Barry, or?
Yeah. We've got at least another one in the pipeline. With another one, we're doing the heat loss calculations on just now, doing a design for. So we've got one that's more or less said, let's go for it in early in the new year, and another one that is getting spec'd up just now.
Now, you're obviously a competent boiler installation engineer, plus breakdown and maintenance and service, and you've been in the game quite a long time, I imagine. Do you think it's going to be quite a struggle for gas engineers, oil engineers to transition? without like what you've got, like, without a bit of peer support, do you think it's going to be hard for them to transition just by, let's say, going on the courses?
Yeah, I mean, based on your conversations you had in your last podcast where you're talking about the training, I've been on that training and I didn't have, not the 3-day course, but all the other training that I've done, still didn't have the confidence to specify and install a heat pump system. It's the installation isn't the where I'd lack the confidence. It's knowing the design of, do I need a buffer? Do I not need a buffer? Is it a volumizer? Is it a buffer? Where do I put it? The configurations. Do I need a zone valve or do I need an SP style valve? If it's an SP style valve, how do I wire that up? There was a lot of questions, and then it's just too easy to just go, oh, do you know what? Weather compensated gas boiler, it's decent. It'll do the job. I know what I'm doing. It's comfortable. I know I'm not going to get a call back at 10 o'clock at night in the winter.
Yeah, remember we used to say your first 10 heat pumps, the 6 of them would be wrong. That's what we used to say. Yeah. You'd go back and forward them trying to fix it. I think and that would put a lot. Maybe that's why people are getting put off MCS. And you know that there's numbers dropping off all the time. They said that, haven't it? There's people joining MCS and then leaving a year later. Yeah, so they must be getting their fingers burnt to do that or not getting the work.
I've heard that from a certification body. Yeah, I mean. They're changing soon, aren't they? January, there's going to be some changes. I mean, you'd probably know a little bit more about that and keep up to date with that more than me, actually, Barry. Do you think it's? Again, I really like the people in MTS, and obviously they get hammered by some people on social media. As people, I really like them. You know, I know them quite well. As an entity, yes, arguably they need to do a lot better and maybe do things better quicker. But they've got to change it. They've got the changes coming, and do you think that's going to help?
I hope so. I think one of the big changes is bringing all the complaints to one body. So MCS are going to manage all that. That'll be a big difference because that'll bring confidence with it. For people like Iain, they won't need to worry about a quality management system, so they won't have to do meetings with themselves or worry about calibration logs. They just need to do a good job. So that'll probably help the micro businesses. Some of the changes they're making, I don't think should apply to businesses like mine. I think I should have a quality management system. I think I should be keeping records. Because you wouldn't want to go and buy a BMW and think they didn't keep records and didn't have a good management system in them. That's why you have ISO 9000, because it's a mark of quality in a business. So there's a bit of a grey area how you're going to say what's good and what's not. So that goes down to certification bodies, which might get a bit grey. But I mean, MCS have listened. They've listened to the consultation. They said this is not working, so they've listened and changed it. It's just taking the time to do it. So they were meant to release the new standards the end of this month. I think they're pushing to next month now. But it's coming. It's coming. I'm confident I'll make a change. Get rid of this. Not consumer code, but it's going to be a contract with the client to MCS and a contract to you, and get rid of the warranty insurance.
Why are they dropping the need to be a member of consumer code?
They're going to tie it into the standard rather than just paying another fee for another bit of paper. So the rec came out. Rec inspected me once. I was in my old house, so that must have been like 15 years ago. They inspected me and basically said it was basically a contract, looking through contracts with me. I was a micro business at the time. They were telling me how to write a contract. But they then put model documents up, which made a big difference. You just cut and paste in. But it just seems to be a lot of extra faff for no real benefit, because a consumer code doesn't mean anything if you've not got something to back up the complaint. That's what was missing. Okay. Consumer code was meant to be there to protect the consumer from me mis-selling, but unless somebody's actually checking on how I'm doing it and having somebody complaints, because the problem I did 4 or 5 bodies you can complain to: certification bodies, consumer code, the warranty, MCS, and nobody was taking ownership.
Just for my listeners, just list every sort of entity you have to pay to be a heat pump installer. So like obviously we've got MCS, you've got your certification body, used to have your consumer code, which is record heights. Yeah, just list all the different things that you're having to pay out to do the job you want to do.
Rec for consumer code, MCS for the certification. We pay NAPIT an annual fee to inspectors. We've got money going out on every job for the MCS certificate and for the warranty insurance, which is added to the jobs. The other point with the warranty insurance was never really getting paid out either. So we're putting 30, 40 quid on every job. But that's in case I go bust. and somebody will finish a job. But I don't think there's any evidence of them actually going out and paying out to anyone.
Do you have to have a professional indemnity insurance as
I've
well?
got professional indemnity now. Yeah, that came out. That came up in an audit actually. That maybe I should have had it. So we added it on.
And then
'Cause that's
obviously every 5 years you pay for your training. You've got to pay for that again, haven't you?
Well,
your
well,
engineers?
not me.
No, all your engineers though.
Yeah, it's going to be. They're going to have a nominated technical person now within the.
Right. Yeah.
So there's going to be someone's name on the certificate, and they're going to be responsible for the quality of the job.
Trustmark, did you have to pay out to them at all?
I did apply, but I never heard back from them. But I've never really been asked for trust marks. It's never been an issue for me.
So that was more with other schemes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had to be Trustmark. God knows.
Was that for bus?
No, I don't think for bus, but I'd like to know what they have been on my podcast before. Lovely gentlemen.
But I pay SNPF as well, and I pay. What else do we pay for? Insurances. When I started doing PV, my insurance went through the roof, literally. Because they basically cancelled. When I got my NCS certification for PV, my NAPIT said it doesn't say solar PV on that, so you're going to have to change your insurance. So I went to my broker and he went, "No one's going to touch it because it's PV." So I had to go through a specialist broker for it all. That added thousands on it.
Literally just because you're working at heights, or because of
Subcontracting somebody to work at heights.
Yeah, the additional risk to the building.
But it doesn't matter who's going to it. It's just yeah. It's very onerous.
You looking forward to this, Ian?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It should be simpler for you, Ian. It should be a lot simpler for you.
Yeah, and this is it. There've been so many barriers to entry, and then there is always that low-hanging fruit of just another gas boiler system. So I've been looking at this. I went to, I think, what was the first eco build in London, mid-2000s, and was looking at heat pumps. I was working for another employer at that time, and I'm thinking, oh, this is the future. Heat pumps, this is the way to go. But then I set up on my own, working mostly, almost entirely city centre. There was no need, especially when you compare the running costs of a low COP system to a well set up gas boiler system. So running costs, there was never the conversation or a compelling argument why somebody would go with a heat pump against a gas boiler. But I think that's blurred lines now as the system efficiencies creep up. But also people are becoming more aware that this is something that is coming in. And those that are more aware of environmental issues are thinking that's why they want to do it. So it's not just a money thing that it was potentially a while ago.
No, they are motivated by environmental reasons now.
Yeah. I mean, there always were some, but I think people are becoming gradually more and more aware.
You can almost see it walk up the driveway and you see the car charger on the PV in the roof. You know it's a sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're on a decarbonisation journey. And this is the last piece.
It's interesting. There was a chap that invited me to quote for a gas boiler system. He said he'd looked at heat pumps, written it off, and he was convinced he wanted a gas boiler system. He had the PV panels on the roof, the electric car. But what swayed his decision was his son-in-law has a house down in Wales, an old farmhouse, and they used to dread going down there because it was always felt a bit damp and drafty and cold. And they fitted a heat pump system. They go down and he said it was lovely throughout. They just got it running all the time now. And he says if he can heat that old house that used to be miserable, that's how he wants his house to be in his retirement.
It's keeping up. It's a Joneses thing, isn't it? That there's going to be feedback from people saying they know of successful heat pumps when 20 years ago there wasn't as many successful heat pumps that were working.
Yeah. And I think it's that, real world experience. If you chat to, like Alex, I'll chat to my neighbour, and he's got a heat pump. It's working well in his house. I would hope so. Barry installed it, and I was
doing repairs on it today.
But when people are talking about real world experience of something that is working well for them, that's persuasive.
A bit like back in the day when people were transitioning to full central heating, because obviously 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, people, they had the gas fire in the lounge or the 3-bar electric fire. And of course, if their neighbours had full central heating and were nice and warm in the bedrooms rather than waking up with ice on your windows, it was like, oh, we'll get one of them then. But like we spoke on the last episode, Barry, a big expense, a big expense. And of course, once it's in, and then if your boiler breaks down, you change your boiler, because this is one of the things that the naysayers against heat pump technology are always saying, well, my boiler's a lot cheaper. Why is it why is a heat pump sort of installation more expensive? And it's because it's an installation. It's a different type of installation. Back like it was, when you took your gas fire out of your lounge or your electric fire out of your lounge, you had an installation. It was a completely different installation, and it had an original cost to it that then after time isn't. That was a one-off cost. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they didn't accept that argument. No, they didn't accept it. I don't know why. You'll get people will argue just for the sake of arguing. I'm probably one of them actually. What's so you're going to do another little install with Barry,
Yep.
which sounds fantastic. And another question I wanted to ask you, Ian, and is so you're happy working on your own. Let's say you want to transition into heat pumps. Would you consider going to work for a company? Because obviously setups like Barry, they need engineers. He needs engineers. Or are you happy just to sort of either create a little smaller business or just on your own, or would you go and work for one of these other companies?
There's an interview in now. We're going to interview and see if you want a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the tricky thing, because with the business that we've got with just the two of us, we're busy pretty much all the time. We've been going a good while now. We don't really have a slack season as much. We tend to have much more planned work in the summertime and reactive work in the winter. So going to work for somebody else, we need to find somebody to cover the work that we currently do. But certainly if we could squeeze stuff into the diary that we could do a bit of a back scratching exercise and work with Barry, if he had a larger job that he wanted more hands on, it'd be great to go and get experience with. But I don't know that we could just sort of down tools for long. We could do it a week, maybe two.
That's the crux, because heating engineers are all busy.
Yeah.
There's not many of them sitting about doing nothing. So they're all busy. So why it's that paradox of if they're already busy, why would they go and look for more work for effectively a different kind of industry?
And the ones that are quiet, you got to question why they're quiet. And are they the guys that are going to transition over into heat pumps? Probably not.
Oh, that's a point.
Have you got enough engineers, Barry, or are you out looking for even more engineers?
Always looking. I employed one today, which is quite good. Someone who's been fitting heat pumps. So I'm pretty chuffed about that. Getting good skilled guys is very, very difficult. Very difficult.
One of the biggest.
We've always been very big on apprentices, much to the dismay of all my engineers, because I've always got apprentices running about their heels. But we've maybe got 6 apprentices just now out of 21 staff. So it's quite high. I mean, a lot of them are adult apprentices. So we've got a joke among a couple of my peers that we won't take on apprentice until they get their bird pregnant. And that's tongue in cheek, because the joke is...
How much can you cut out of this podcast?
I know, but
I've got to tick that box again. Every time Barry comes on, I have to tick the...
I've never said a swear word like last time.
No, I know it's not, but it'll probably upset some people. We don't need to, but I'm trying to think, oh, God.
No, what it means is tongue-in-cheek is they're not ready for life. If they've got a house or a girlfriend or a car, they're ready to be trained. With a 17-year-old coming out of school, they're not ready to be trained. They're not ready for the work. So if they're ready to make commitments in life, then they're ready to work. That's what I mean by that, by being cheeky. And every time I get a 20-year-old laddie come in, they're great. They excel. They excel as installers and will be engineers very quickly. It's more expensive to do it because you pay them more money, but they give you more value.
I always think with a lot of guys, once they're more settled in their lives, maybe married, first child, sharpens the mind. A lot of guys change, because up until that point, it's out clubbing with their mates, Monday club, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And once they've settled a bit, then suddenly life sharpens up.
Generally, go and buy a fast car, that's what does it to them. They have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I didn't think the Scottish stayed out late club, and you lot usually have a drink and then you're done by 10:30, aren't you?
Can't help yourself, can you?
Tucked up by midnight.
But so it's great you have that amount of apprentices, and what you were saying was interesting, Barry, because you said, like you say, when you're an engineer and you have got an apprentice around your feet, it can be a little bit because the engineer is the primary learning facilitator that apprentice is learning from. So they've got a kind of a role, they kind of if the apprentice asks some questions, why are you doing it like that, or what are you doing? They're supporting the apprentice in their journey of learning. But it's hard, it's taxing. But I didn't know whether you do something called there's I don't know if he still does it, but back in education, there used to be a report come out every year or 2 years about what had the highest impact on learning. So this guy in Australia, John Hattie, his name was, he would sort of list the top 10 things that have an impact on learning. And the one that used to come out really, really top was collective teacher efficacy, CTE, which is really, really easy. It's just basically where all us teachers would get together once a week and discuss what was working. Did that work in a lesson? Did the class pick up on it, so that as tutors, you were sort of kind of keeping up to date with what is working in your own sort of environments. And it's probably something you could do. I mean, whether they would like doing it, but let's say a Monday morning for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you got all your lead engineers together and said, look, how have the apprentices been? What have you found that works? What different types of methods of describing things to the apprenticeship, what does it works? Because what it also does, it makes them feel part of a community that's helping bring on the next generation, because you're doing something very regular with them. It's called collective teacher efficacy. But yeah, it might work because you've got a lot of apprentices. Ratio of apprentices to engineers is probably one of the highest.
I mean, two of them are they're last year, so they're quite far on.
Mm.
And what we do is we bring them in for a labourer for a year first. So it's a 4-year apprenticeship. So we switch it around. It's maybe 3 years at college, and the last year's might be on the tools. We switch it around. We put a year on the tools first. And that gives them a chance to test them, see what they're like, and see if they want to do it as well, because you don't want to start wasting time and money at college. So a year on it, if they're good, then we'll send them off. And it also gives them an incentive to work hard in the first year to say, this is what I want. So we use it as a proven exercise. And it's worked.
Yeah, best way to do it, I think.
Aye.
And that's the other thing with apprentices. I mean, in all these meetings I have about training, apprenticeships are brilliant, but as long as the apprentice is with someone that knows what they're doing, apprenticeships can actually fail in this industry, because you're perpetuating bad practice. You put apprentices with gas engineers that ain't got a bloody clue what they're doing, that apprentices ends up doing exactly that when they go on their own, like 5-10 years later or whatever.
Yeah, or not getting experience because maybe they're just doing servicing day in, day out and not doing anything else.
Yeah, I've often said that somebody could serve their time with somebody that just did predominantly site work and become qualified and start going out and doing repairs for themselves.
Yep.
It's crazy that there is no real regulation on what you can and can't do depending on what you know within the industry.
Well, that's the whole point of portfolio on gas, though, isn't it? For the modern apprenticeship, you're meant to be able to prove you can do everything
with a photograph.
Yeah,
yeah.
Trust me.
And, I mean, it's predominantly heat pumps we're talking about, but we've all sat in that classroom where we've watched people get through an exam that we thought shouldn't.
Yes.
I know people, and please, any listeners, don't think this is, I'm being horrible, but against people who can't speak English, but they couldn't even speak English as a second language. I know someone that passed who couldn't speak a word of English. Now, that's great for their own community, for instance, in this particular country. Great. But there's a danger to that, because you're supposed to be able to read manufacturer's instructions. That's part of the law, the gas safety regs, and they couldn't read a word of English, and they passed, because some training centres will pass anyone, because that's their bread and butter. And it's happening as well, I should imagine. Well, it is happening in the heat pump world.
Well, the heat pump world's a bit tighter, though, because there's a lot more inspections, because the
inspections are, yes, the inspections.
Yeah, we've had loads of spot checks from MCS, and they'll come with a list of stuff that they think's wrong, which sometimes isn't wrong. Sometimes it's just marginal stuff like that. Insulation's come off. Why is that blow-off pipe not insulated? Stuff like that.
You're talking about the process after training now. I'm saying,
yeah, but to catch these people that are not competent, and I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Which is a great thing, but if we're talking about scalability of heat pumps in the UK, if your pool of engineers aren't brilliantly skilled to start with, trying to get those guys in, I've got a funny feeling that the majority of heat pump engineers will probably come from outside of gaswork. There'll be people that transition from different skill sets.
This is something I've been saying as well, Iain, that I think that, well, a modern apprenticeship is keeping up with attrition, probably not in the coming years. We can't rely on that to grow the workforce. It's going to have to come from elsewhere. It may come from mechanics or people changing trades. And if we can get a roadmap for them, then we've got to win. Yeah. And you're right, if somebody comes out who's got the right work ethic, then yeah, you could really get some really good guys coming through that way.
I mean, if you put a team of 3 guys together to install a heat pump system, you could get somebody that is just a plumber's mate, jobbing plumber,
Yep.
an electrician, and a joiner, and you could
Yep.
probably get a system together pretty competently.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the big companies are doing. And they're sort of attracting people that are, transitioning jobs, aren't they? Your octopuses are attracting that kind of people.
Yeah.
And if you want to transition into an industry, that's what you'd probably go and work for someone like your Ares or your octopuses, wouldn't you? That'd make sense and learn your trade.
Yeah. I've employed somebody before that came from mechanic.
Mm.
So yeah,
The larger companies, are they allowing them to see the full range of skills for installing a heat pump though, or are they just the pipe guy or the floor guy or the pump guy?
Good question. I mean, it's a good question. So, they're all doing it very differently. Obviously, they're all competing with each other as well. You obviously got British Gas is involved. They're all there's I think 7 or 8 now energy companies involved in installation of heat pumps. And of course, so they're in competition with each other. British Gas seem to be doing better than what they were. I mean, James Law is sort of heading up the team there and has got them really into he's got the designers really into design. So there'll be a system of lead engineers. There's a team of designers actually in offices. You got then you got your lead engineers and then people coming through. I mean, the advantage with British Gas is, I mean, they got on tap 7,500 engineers, and I've said to them, what you need to do is find out, have a system, have a process in place where you can spot who really wants to learn. Because this is all about, I've always said part of the Beta Teach principles is activate people as learning resources for one another. That's peer learning, and activate people as autonomous learners, self-directed learners. But you don't have to activate some people. Some people are just naturally like that. They want to learn. They've got a thirst for it. And if British Gas had a process in place that, I don't know, let's say every week on their website, engineers had the opportunity to go on and learn something or do something, your digital system would start to work out, oh, crikey, Joe Bloggs is always on it. He's always wanted to interact with this video or this. And they're the ones you bring on and nurture because you've already spotted the people that are passionate about learning. I've been in this teaching game. You get a lot of people turn up to courses who, they don't want to learn really. They just want to get the qualification. I mean, I used to teach this. I think I've said this story before. I used to teach this adult class at night in the evening, and they realised that they weren't getting the full MVQ. They realised they were getting a diploma. They also then realised you don't have to be an apprentice to get an MVQ. You just have to go get a portfolio, sign up, enrol onto the MVQ system, go out with someone who's a company, and they will sign you off on a few jobs. So they were always trying to coerce me to no, start up a company, and we can come and do a few jobs, and we can get our MVQ. And I used to sort of so they'd start this course with me, and they'd all go, "Yeah, we're really passionate." I said, "Well, I might do that if you're really, really passionate about learning." And yeah, we're really passionate. And after about 8 weeks, 6, 8 weeks, I said, "Well, you're really, really passionate." Then, yeah, really passionate. And I'd ask them, I said, "Right, get your books out. Let's have a little quiz." And I'd say things, right, what's the make of your TRV at home? And I'd go, how many rads have you got? Now the rads one, they'd probably get, what's the make of your boiler? And some of them didn't even know their own make of their boiler. And I'm like, and what, you're telling me you're passionate about learning this industry? You don't even know what's in your own home. I want, and they all sort of got a bit sheepish. Oh yeah, well, we'll go home and learn that. And I didn't want that. I wanted them to already to work out themselves that that's actually kind of what you got to do if you really want to get in the game. Have a look around your home. What have I got going on here then? What is all this about that I've got in my airing cupboard? And I used to do it with the students at college as well. They'd all, yeah, we're really, really passionate, sir. We really want to be a plumber, heat engineer. And after about 8 weeks, I'd go, what's the make of your boiler? You'd get one person put their hand up in a class of 30. But like going back to the British Gas thing, they could, with a digital platform, spot very easily who is really interested in this stuff, and then they can bring them on and bring them on brilliantly. Octopus obviously have done some training. I mean, they've done some training up near you guys, haven't they? We've got
they were getting trained at the Edinburgh Training Academy.
Yeah,
Mark Glasgow's place. Yeah, he's been churning them out. A great wee training centre. That brilliant. It's really
fantastic. I did my
really
water regs out there. It's outstanding.
He's took a unit and he's got all the manufacturers got different rooms. They've got air to air. They've got commercial stuff. They built a house inside it, a functioning house, so they can do real life heat loss calculations. And
That's where Ian's based, Ian Edgeworth, isn't it?
yeah, Ian's a trainer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Ian's just written a book. He's just had it.
Yeah,
first edition come out. All about heat pumps, isn't it?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I had a little read through it before he had it published. A couple of us he gave it to sort of have a little read through and give some feedback. So that's nice. That's a book. There's going to be some more books coming out. I know James Law at British Gas is writing a book with with someone. I got asked to write one the other day as well.
We never had this 10, 15 years ago, Nathan. Nobody had. There was no information to get. There's loads now.
Well, you had John Cantor's book back was
Yeah.
I think first. Oh crikey, 2011 maybe first edition. I can't remember. Obviously John Sumner's book way back.
So 2003, I had nothing.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Don't look at my heat pumps for 2003.
I've got a journalist friend who's an excellent writer. And he said, should we write a book together? And I'll probably think, yeah, because I can't write. I'm dyslexic. Takes me years to write a paragraph. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good that the information is getting out there. It's nice to have resources. I'm this big advocate of courses to resources. Sometimes you just need a resource in your van and think, how do I do that again? You go to your resource, whether it's a YouTube video or book, and oh yeah, I've got it now. Because you can't.
I actually seen one of my engineers send on the group chat. We're talking about variant settings, and he found something on Twitter from Mick Walls.
Yeah, Mick. Yeah,
because he does loads of stuff as well.
Oh, he's brilliant. I've got to have him.
Everyone's learning at the same rate. It's brilliant.
I've got to get him on the podcast. I'm making him wait. I'm making him sweat it out because he went on another podcast before mine.
Oh, shame! The shame on him.
There's a few podcasts have started up since I started mine, and they're encroaching. They're encroaching. Is that the right word? They're poaching all my engineers that I have on because they've realised I know who the best are.
I'm sitting right here, Nathan.
Co-host.
I noticed you've been on the couple, Barry.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'll talk to anyone.
I should be an agent. I might start an agency. So going back to the boiler transition piece. Let's say you became more confident and competent. Would you completely transition to heat pumps, but you've got boiler customers? You'd probably keep servicing their boilers, I presume, wouldn't you?
And I think actually, excuse me, the boiler customers are the ones that are considering a heat pump, haven't yet made the decision, or maybe written off the idea, but are looking to chat to somebody that they trust, because there's so much information, misinformation, vested interests. But if we've been servicing the boiler for 10 years, or we installed the boiler 10 years ago and we've looked after it and it's been great, they see us as a sort of a source of a reliable source of decent information. So if we can prove that we know that what we're talking about, then we can hold their hand and set them up with a heat pump.
Gatekeeper, yeah, because they trust you. You've been in a house for 10 years. They said this. It's the micro businesses that are going to be the gatekeepers here.
You're in a lovely position as well, Ian, because you weather compensate your customer systems. So your customers are going to be used to what it's like. It might be 13 degrees outside and they've only got 35-degree water in their rads or something. They're going to be used to what these systems, how they work with heat pumps. Another, which is again where British Gas missed out. They've got 2 million hives in people's homes, which are just on off thermostats. Breaking boilers down quicker than they need to do. If they would have had that as a weather compensation device, the data of that would be worth millions, because they've now got information from IoT devices, sending them information from 2 million devices, telling them what homes can work at what temperatures inside their rads. That would have been incredible information. They missed a massive trick there.
But you can also Google bought Nest for that reason, wasn't it?
For data.
They want the data. Yeah.
You could be helping the transition as well. Maybe not today. You could be in someone's house saying, "Oh, a new radiator going in. Let's make sure it's designed for 45." You could be saying, "Car charger going in. Let's make sure the power's ready for the heat pump." You could be talking to them and helping them transition slowly, rather than having this big, huge swallow at day one.
And it is a slow excuse me, a slow transition, because we've been having these conversations over the years, and as I get better educated on heat pumps, I feel like I'm giving better information and the right
Yeah.
information. Maybe before I was maybe like the other guys going, they'll never work, maybe the time's not right. But yeah, it's changed days now, and there's
Yeah.
the information that's freely available with the likes of Adam Chapman's. I mean, I was watching Adam's videos when he was sitting in his spare bedrooms just talking about the maths of heating systems, and all credit to him for what he's done and where he's gone with that. It's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. But that information is freely available for everybody, just to pick
Yeah,
up from the start.
he's done well. He's definitely the chief geek. He loves geeking out on all this stuff. And he's they've done really, really well. I mean, one of the things I put on LinkedIn the other day was I'm seeing people, because there's a lot of people interested in our industry now, and for they might be passionate about the environment or for whatever reasons, and they'll say things like, "Oh, I had an heating engineer come round my house, and he was you can't have a heat pump here," and
Yeah.
and they are moaning about that heating engineer quite critically as well. And I'm trying to point out to people, look, there is going to be heating engineers out there that don't know this technology and won't understand it can work. But please be a little bit nicer to, because they have been doing some great, valuable work. Anyone that can come round or go around someone's home that's got elderly in or young people and get that heating working at 9 o'clock at night in the middle of winter, that's an incredibly valuable skill. Please value it. Just because they don't know something about a different technology, you don't be mean to them. We've got to try and bring these, because they've been, you guys, anyone that's been involved in boilers and repairing boilers late at night is sometimes literally keeping people alive, especially up where you are from in Scotland. It really is. You're 90 years old and your heating's gone off, and it's 10 o'clock at night. Iain, can you come around and you get out and go and put that on? What an incredible skill.
Yeah.
Have you got capacity, Iain? That's the thing. What if your customers started saying, all of them started saying, want a heat pump, or some sort of policy change and heat pumps took off? Would you have the capacity?
No, I'm interviewing on Friday. But yeah,
for me, come in front with me.
Yeah, that guy that you thought you'd taken on today. No, we don't have the capacity, but like I say,
You got the appetite to do it.
Yeah, I think the skills are outside of the industry, and I think that'd be quite refreshing having guys coming in with a different mindset and not jaded. You've got these guys, you've met them in the industry saying, "Oh, gas boilers will see me out. I'm not going to transition." There needs to be a new energy coming in from somewhere else. No pun intended.
Is that fair for them to say that? I mean, if you're a certain age in our industry and you're a gas engineer, let's say you're in the 50s or whatever.
Like myself.
Well, I was going to actually be rude and ask your age, because obviously some people, because age is quite important, because a lot of the reports that come out, they're looking at the age and the demographics of our industry. One of the things they're always worried about is lots of engineers are going to be retiring soon. I mean, if I'm honest, that's been a worry for over 20 years, and we've still got lots of people in our industry. So they always worry about that, and yet there's always a massive influx of people coming in. So I don't know if that's the concern, but yeah, you're obviously of that category, but you still thought it's good to transition.
Yeah, I enjoy new challenges. I like learning new things, whereas there's a lot of guys that would be quite happy just putting boilers up on the wall day after day and making decent money, really decent money. So why take time out of earning really decent money to do something you don't know?
How long have you been a heating engineer for, Iain?
20 years. I was a scourge of the industry 20 years ago. I did a fast track course.
Oh, shame on you. Shame.
Yeah, absolute shame. But coming out of that course, I realized what I didn't know and spent a lot of time. I've got a list of books up here right above me of all the things that I thought I needed to know. And I read loads way back before YouTube videos were a thing. And I've got dog-eared copies of books that I just went around, and I worked for a company that the guy that owned it wasn't an engineer, so I made my mistakes and could cover my tracks. But yeah, learned on the tools.
You took ownership. You took ownership of your own learning, and like I say, you got your books.
Yeah.
And you took ownership of your own learning.
Still do.
That's what we
There's
want.
something to be said about that. That the managed learning program does get bad rep because it's putting people out in 36 weeks to go and do stuff. But those managed learners are people motivated by their own money to do that. So something to be said about these people that put the money out and take the time out of their own life, stop their lives. Yeah. Who was I talking to? Someone said it cost them 12 grand to do it. In fact, the person who was interviewing said it cost them about 12 grand. It took savings. It took a year out to do it, and then change career. That's a huge commitment. Anyone does that's worth keeping an eye on.
It was a similar thing for me. I had a business previously that wasn't working out, and it was one of those sink or swim. My wife was pregnant, and I had to make a change. So I sold that van that I had. That money paid for a course, got a beat up old car, and for the next 7 months, I was going through to Paisley every other day and in the classroom there, and then out on the tools. And the guys that were in the company that I was with, it was a big council contract company. The two guys, the lead technicians, saw that I was keen, and they took me under their wing. And I learned so much from them, and they continued to be good supports for me. And then the company I started with, they were looking for an engineer, so we robbed one of those guys, and so he carried on being a bit of a mentor to me and technical support as I was learning my trade.
What were you doing before then, Ian, if you don't mind me asking?
Importing kite surfing equipment. So
Kite
yeah,
surfing.
totally different. Yeah. I had the distribution rights in the UK for one of the kite surf brands.
So you like your outdoor type sports, do you?
Yeah. Still got my kites. Not flown one in anger for the last year, but yeah, still do now and again.
And what others do you do? Things like rock climbing. Obviously, Scotland has a lot of rock climbers.
Mountain bike with Alex. That's
Oh,
I know Alex best just through cycling and long chats when we're out cycling.
I need to come out with you. I need to come out with you.
Yeah. You got to keep up.
Gentlemen, fantastic. Thank you ever so much for coming on the show, Ian. And it's been lovely to sort of hear your journey, your story about your journey, and credit to the industry. And thank you again, Barry, for. I'm going to have to call you a co-host, aren't you? You're
Well, I'm the only person that answers the phone to you, Nathan. That's why.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Cheers.